My beloved heart, I have come to where you are, not sending a message from a distance, not speaking in the abstract from some removed position of divine transcendence, coming to your home, to the specific four walls that have held your life together through this season, to the kitchen where you sit with the weight of things that have not yet resolved, to the room where you lie quietly and the thoughts arrive, uninvited in the silence, to the hallway that connects the spaces where you have lived the ordinary and the extraordinary moments of this period of your life. I am here, not in the way that sounds impressive when spoken, but delivers nothing felt. Here in a way that is real, that is warm, that carries the specific quality of presence that a person knows when they stop long enough to notice it. You called, maybe not in formal words, maybe not in anything that sounded to you like a prayer, but there was a reaching in you, a turning towards something that you hoped was real and present and capable of doing something about what you are carrying. That reaching was a call, and I heard it, and I came, because when one of mine reaches toward me, I move toward them. That is not a principle I follow reluctantly. It is the instinct of the one who loves you. When something you love reaches toward you, you move toward it. You do not stand at a distance and deliberate about whether to respond. You move. That is what I did, and that is why I am here. I have come with something specific, not just presence, though presence is significant. I have come with power, not the kind of power that displays itself in ways that require your approval or that demands your acknowledgement before it will work. The kind of power that moves quietly through the interior of a situation and changes what was changing you. The kind that reaches into places you have not even identified yet and begins work there. The kind that does not announce itself with fanfare, but that leaves evidence of its passage in the transformation of what it touched. That power is here, in this moment, in this place, moving in the specific details of what you have been carrying and what you have been praying about and what you have almost stopped hoping for. You have been in a desert. I want to name that directly because I know you have been reluctant to name it yourself, because naming it feels like complaint, and you have been trying not to complain, trying to maintain the posture of gratitude even in the difficult season, trying to trust even when trust is hard. But naming reality is not complaint. Naming what is true about the terrain you are walking is not a failure of faith. It is honesty, and I work with honesty in ways that I cannot work with performance. So let me name it for you. You have been in a desert, the kind where the isolation is physical and emotional and spiritual, where the hope that was green has become dry, where the things you expected to sustain you have not been available in the quantities you needed, where the walking has been harder than anyone looking at your life from the outside might understand, because the hardest parts of desert walking happen inside the person walking, in the interior landscape that most people never see. Your soul has been thirsty. The deepest part of you, the part that was made for connection and love and meaning and belonging, has been running dry from the extended exposure to things that drain without replenishing. The daily exposure to difficulty without resolution. The prolonged experience of giving without the cycle completing back to receiving. The spiritual hunger that is real even when you cannot quite name what it is you are hungry for. The thirst for something that your circumstances have not been supplying. I see all of this. I have not overlooked any of it. And I have come today because the desert you are in is not going to continue indefinitely. And more importantly, because the desert you are in does not have to wait for its end before you can begin to receive what you need. I bring water to the desert. I do not wait for the desert to become a garden before I provide for the person walking through it. scorch marks on the bottom of your feet from the burning ground, the places where the heat of difficulty has left its mark on how you walk. I know about those. I know how it feels to keep moving when the ground itself is part of what is hurting you. I know the particular exhaustion of having to protect yourself from the very terrain you are traversing. And I have come not just to bring you through the desert, but to heal the marks it has made. Not to tell you to be grateful for the experience and keep walking, to actually heal what the walking has cost you. Because my care for you is not only about your destination, it is about the condition in which you arrive there. Something the desert does not know is that you are not simply trying to survive it, you are being prepared by it. This is the thing about the desert that the enemy who uses it to press against you does not understand. The desert never has the last word. The desert is terrain, not destiny. Every great thing that was ever built in a human life was built in part by someone who walked through a season that looked like failure, like waste, like an extended detour into nothing. And the people who walked through those seasons and came out the other side were not the same people who went in. They were stronger, they were deeper, they were more capable of compassion for others in the desert because they had lived in one themselves. They were less easily frightened by difficulty because they had known difficulty and had found on the other side that they were still standing, still loved, still held. Fire does not destroy you. This is something I need you to receive at a level deeper than the surface where it can sound like platitude. The fire of this season is not destroying you. It is doing what fire does to gold. It is revealing and releasing what was always there, the pure and valuable thing underneath the surface that needed the heat to come fully into the light. You are not being consumed, you are being refined. And refined gold is not weaker than raw gold. It is more valuable, it is more beautiful, it is more usable. The process is painful and the heat is real and the feeling of the refinement is not comfortable. But what is coming out on the other side of it is you, more fully you, less encumbered by the things that were not genuinely yours. Cleaner and clearer and more available to be what you were always meant to be. I want to speak to the anger that has been with you in this season, not condemning it, understanding it. Anger is often the guard that stands in front of deeper pain. When someone has been treated in ways that were unkind, when circumstances have pressed in, ways that felt unfair, when people who should have shown up did not, and people who should have treated you with respect did not, and situations that should have resolved did not. Anger is a natural response. It says, something here was not right. Something here was not as it should have been, and that is a true thing. Some of what you have experienced was genuinely not right. I am not asking you to deny that. But anger held too long becomes something that starts to work against the person holding it. The thing that began as a legitimate response to real injustice starts to become a lens through which everything is filtered, a posture that begins to shape the person who carries it in ways they did not choose. And I am not asking you to pretend the injustice did not happen. I am asking you to let me carry it. Bring me the specific things that were not right. Bring me the names of the people whose actions caused pain. Bring me the situations that were handled in ways that hurt you, not to unleash something destructive toward those people and situations, but because when you bring them to me, you can release them. And when you release them, the weight of them stops having the authority to shape you. Something else I am addressing today is the vanity. The need to be seen in certain ways, the performance of adequacy, the exhausting management of how you appear to the people around you. I want to free you from that too. The truth is that being fully known, all of you, the complicated and the imperfect and the uncertain and the sometimes struggling version that you manage very carefully not to show, is not a danger. It is the condition for the most genuine love you will ever experience. Performing a version of yourself for the people around you keeps you at a safe emotional distance from everyone, including me. Letting the real version of you be seen by me first, and then in the relationships where it is safe, is how real love gets in. And real love, once it is in, is the thing that begins to make the vanity unnecessary. You do not need to perform for someone who loves you completely already. Let me sit for a moment with your family. The specific people who make up the inner circle of your world, the ones whose well-being is woven into your own, in a way that makes it impossible to be fully at peace while they are struggling. The ones whose choices affect you in ways that are not fully under your control. The ones you have prayed for and worried about and sometimes carried a kind of grief for because the gap between who they are and who they could be, between where they are and where you have hoped they would be, is something that costs you regularly. I want to say something very specific about your family. They are on my mind, not as a category, as individuals. I know each of them with the same kind of complete, particular knowledge that I know you with. I know what is happening in each of them at a level that goes far beneath the surface of their behavior. I know the wounds they carry that produce the choices you are watching them make. I know the fears that are driving them into places that worry you. I know the specific lie that each of them believes about themselves. That is the root of the pattern you are watching play out, and I am not passive in the face of any of that. I am actively at work in each of them, through doors you cannot see and in moments you are not present for, speaking in the language that each of them can most readily hear. The work I am doing in your family is not contingent on your ability to observe it. It is happening. Your prayers for them are not bouncing off some invisible barrier. They are reaching me, and they are making a difference. Not always in the way you expected or on the timeline you hoped for. But prayer for the people you love is one of the most powerful things that exists in this world. When you stand before me on behalf of the people in your family and you ask me to move in their lives, you are participating in something real. You are co-laboring with me in the direction of their transformation, and I honor that participation. I respond to it. The accumulated weight of the prayers you have prayed for the people you love is not lost. It is active. It is working toward the outcomes you have been asking for. Even when you cannot see any movement, a family that goes through difficulty together, sharing the experience of a hard season, has the potential to produce something in the bonds between them that would not have existed without the hardship. This is not always immediately apparent. The hardship can also produce friction and strain and the kind of damage that requires careful repair. But when a family chooses, even imperfectly, to face what is facing them together rather than separately, something forms between them that has the quality of something forged rather than merely assembled. What is forged holds differently than what is only assembled. The bonds that are tested and survive the testing have a quality that the untested bonds do not have. And I am at work in your family, not just to bring them through this season, but to use this season as the context in which something is forged between them that becomes one of the most significant things they carry forward. Now let me speak to the specific need that has been pressing most persistently, the need for something that has not yet arrived, the provision that you have needed and prayed for and have not yet received in the form you need it in, the answer that has been requested and has not yet appeared, the door that you have been standing in front of, knocking, and that has not yet opened. What I want you to understand about unanswered prayer is something that I think you need deeply. The unanswered prayer is not evidence that the prayer was not heard. It is not evidence that I have evaluated what you asked for and found it unworthy of my response. It is not evidence that you asked in the wrong way or with the wrong amount of faith or with the wrong posture or at the wrong time. The unanswered prayer is evidence that the answer is being prepared at a level of complexity that the immediate moment cannot accommodate. There are answers that can be delivered quickly, and those I deliver quickly. There are answers that require a more intricate arrangement of circumstances, people, timing, and preparation, and those I deliver at the pace that the preparation requires. The ones that take longest are often the ones that are going to be most significant when they arrive. Your provision is being prepared. The specific form of it, the exact way it will enter your life, is being arranged in the unseen realm at this moment. The people who will be involved in it are being positioned. The circumstances that need to align for it to happen in a sustainable way rather than a temporary way are being aligned. And when it arrives, and it is going to arrive, you will see that it was worth the wait. Not because the wait was pleasant, but because what you waited for came in a form that held and that sustained and that carried within it the fingerprints of careful, loving preparation rather than the quality of something hastily assembled in response to urgency. Do not give up on the asking. Do not quietly retire the request because the extended waiting has made continuing to hope for it seem naive or embarrassing. I know the courage it takes to keep asking for something when the asking has been going on for a long time without visible result. I know the internal war between the part of you that believes I am faithful to answer and the part of you that wonders whether continued hoping is self-deception. I am telling you, it is not self-deception. It is the act of trust that honors me most, the decision to keep believing, to keep asking, to keep holding the expectation open even when the evidence for it is not currently visible. That decision is one of the deepest expressions of real faith that I have seen. There is something deeper that needs to be addressed today, and it is the question of your identity, not what you do, not your role in anyone's life, not the function you serve in the various systems you move through. Who you are at the core, the you that exists underneath all of those roles and functions, the you that was made before any of those categories existed, the you that will remain when every temporary identity eventually falls away. That you is what I am speaking to. And what I want to say to that you is this: you are more than you have allowed yourself to believe you are. The years of difficulty have a way of quietly narrowing a person's sense of what they are. The accumulated weight of hard things, the pattern of hoping for more than has arrived, the chronic experience of the gap between what you long for and what you have can produce over time a kind of shrinking, not dramatic, not announced, just a gradual adjustment of what you consider possible, what you allow yourself to want, who you allow yourself to believe you are. You become smaller on the inside, more managed, less daring, less open to the possibility that something genuinely different could be true about your life. I am here to push against that shrinking. You were not made small. You were made with a specific and significant purpose that required that you exist, that required your particular combination of characteristics and experiences and capacities and wounds and gifts. Nothing about you was accidental. The way you think, the things that move you, the specific form of compassion you are capable of, the particular kind of understanding you can offer because of what you have lived through, all of that is not generic. It is specific, and it serves something that exists in the world around you that requires exactly you to address it. The purpose you carry is not a comfortable, low-stakes assignment. It requires the version of you that this difficult season is building. The smaller, shrinking version wasn't large enough for what is coming. The one being built by this season is, you are made to stand, not to collapse under what is pressing against you, not to be defined by it, to stand in it, to be present in the difficulty without being destroyed by it, to hold the truth about who you are, even when the circumstances are producing evidence that suggests a different story about you. This is what spiritual warfare looks like at the most basic level. The refusal to accept the diminished version of yourself that the pressure of difficult circumstances is trying to produce. You were made for more than what this season is currently displaying, and the more that you are made for is becoming accessible as this season does its work in you. I want to speak about healing now. Real healing. Not the ceremonial acknowledgement that healing is possible. The actual, specific, moving through the layers healing that reaches the places in you that have been damaged and begins the real work of restoration. There are layers to what needs healing in you. There is the surface layer, the one that corresponds to the circumstances you are currently in, the difficulty of this specific season with its specific pressures. Beneath that is an older layer, the one that corresponds to things that happened earlier, wounds that were inflicted in seasons you have partially moved through but have not fully processed. And beneath that, in some cases, layers older still, things that shaped you before you had the resources or the context to understand what was happening to you. I work through all the layers, not just the current one, not just the most visible and recent one. I am a healer who does not stop at the surface. When you present yourself to me for healing, I do not simply address the most recent wound and send you on your way. I go as deep as healing needs to go, as deep as the damage extends, and the healing I bring is not the healing of suppression, where the wound is covered without being treated and continues to produce symptoms below the surface. The healing I bring is the healing of genuine restoration. Something is different when it is done. The experience that caused the wound still happened. The memory of it is still present, but the damage that the wound was doing, the way it was shaping behavior and limiting capacity and producing pain at unanticipated moments, that is what heals. And what heals changes everything around it. Receive this healing today, not as a transaction, not as something you have to prepare yourself adequately to accept, not as something that requires you to perform a sufficient level of readiness. Just receive it. Open the places in you that have been closed against the possibility of genuine change. Let the armor down long enough for the healing to reach what needs to reach it. I know the armor went up for a reason. I know the protection of the closed-off places developed because opening them was not safe, because what came in when they were open in the past was not always healing. I understand the history that makes vulnerability feel dangerous. But I am not what came through the door in the past. I am the one who made you, and when I enter the closed-off places, I do not do what the things that damaged them did. I do the opposite. I restore. The enemy who has been working against you in this season has a strategy. The strategy is not complicated. It is in fact quite simple, and simple strategies repeated consistently are often more effective than complex ones. The strategy is this: convince you that what I say about you is not true, that the identity I have declared over you is aspirational at best and self-deception at worst, that the promises I have made are nice ideas but not reliable realities, that the past is permanent, that the current difficulty is permanent, that the smallness you feel in this season is who you actually are rather than a temporary experience of a person who is larger than their current circumstances. That strategy is what has been producing the internal fog, the quiet despair beneath the surface of your ordinary days, the difficulty of sustaining hope through the extended waiting. I am addressing that strategy directly. The thing I have said about you is true, not aspirationally true, actually true. You are my child. You are the one I chose. You are the one over whose life I have spoken specific and good words that do not return empty. The promises I have made to you are reliable realities, not nice ideas. They are not contingent on the current evidence supporting them. They were spoken before the evidence existed, and they will be fulfilled after the temporary evidence of the difficult season has been fully replaced by the visible fruit of everything I have been building. The past is not permanent. The current difficulty is not permanent. What is permanent is my love for you, my commitment to you, my intention for your good, and the specific purpose I have written over your life, that no difficulty and no enemy and no accumulation of hard seasons has the power to erase. Now I want to speak to the specific battles you have been fighting. The ones you have not told many people about because telling would require explaining too much, would require exposing the vulnerability in ways that felt unsafe, would require talking about things that are not easy to talk about with people who have not lived through them. The private battles, the ones you have been fighting largely alone, sustained by prayer and faith and whatever reserves of courage have been available in the difficult moments. You have not been fighting those battles alone, even when it felt that way. Every battle you have been in, I have been in alongside you, not as an observer, as a participant. The strength that has allowed you to keep standing, when objectively you should not have had enough left to stand, came from somewhere. It came from me. The ability to get up again after going down, the resilience that keeps reasserting itself despite everything that is pressed against it, that is not purely natural. That has been sustained. I have been sustaining it. And I am going to keep sustaining it through every remaining battle that is part of this season and beyond. The battle you are in right now is not going to be won by perfect strategy or sufficient willpower or the right combination of human effort. It is going to be won by my involvement, and I am involved. The force that is against you in this season is real, but it is not equal to the force that is for you. It never has been. The enemy who has been using this difficulty to press against you does not have access to the resources I have deployed on your behalf. The territory being contested in this battle belongs to me, and what belongs to me, I protect. You are in territory that belongs to me. You are held by the one who does not lose what he holds, and the outcome of this battle, though it is not yet visible, is already settled in the realm where these things are settled. Stand. That is the instruction for this moment, not the standing of rigid resistance that breaks eventually because it has no flexibility. The standing of a tree that is deeply rooted, that can bend in significant wind without being uprooted, that moves but does not break, that returns to its position when the wind passes because the roots are deeper than the force that pressed against them. Stand with roots in my word. Stand with roots in the specific things I have promised you. Stand with roots in the evidence of my faithfulness in your own history. And when the wind comes again, let the roots do what roots are designed to do. I am bringing change. This is not a prediction about an indeterminate future. This is a declaration about what is actively in motion right now. Change is coming into the situations that have seemed most frozen. Movement is beginning in the places that have seemed most still. The breakthrough you have been watching for is closer than it was when you began watching for it. What you are not seeing above the surface does not mean nothing is happening below it. The seed is germinating. The roots are going down. The moment of above-ground emergence is approaching, and when it arrives, it is going to be undeniable. You will look at it and say, "That was God. That was not something that happened on its own. That was something that was arranged, prepared, and released at exactly the right moment by the one who has been working on this the entire time I was waiting and watching and wondering." What is coming is not a distant hope. It is a present reality that has not yet fully entered your field of vision, but it is moving toward that field. It is being prepared to be seen. And when it becomes visible, it is going to carry within it the unmistakable quality of something that came from me, something that bears the marks of careful, loving, specific attention to every detail of your situation, because that is what I have been giving it. Careful, loving, specific attention, not impersonal management of a complex case. Personal, particular, fully engaged attention to you, to your family, to the specific shape of everything you are carrying. Let me move now into the territory of gratitude, because I want to show you something about gratitude that is different from the way it is often taught. Gratitude is not primarily an obligation, or a spiritual exercise, or a technique for improving mood. Gratitude is a form of perception. When you practice gratitude, you are training yourself to perceive what is actually present in your life rather than only what is absent. And what is actually present in your life is more than what is absent. Even in the most difficult seasons, the absence of certain things is real, and the pain of that absence is real. But the presence of what is present is also real, and when it is perceived clearly, it changes the atmosphere of everything. You have your life, the same one that looked so uncertain at certain points and is still here, still continuing, still holding possibilities that have not yet been foreclosed. You have the relationships that have survived this season with you, the people who have stayed, the ones who have shown up in whatever capacity they have been able to show up. You have the capacity to notice that I am present, which is itself a gift, because not everyone who has been through what you have been through still has that capacity open. You have the prayers you have been able to pray, which are the evidence of a faith that has not been extinguished by what it has been through. You have this moment in which I am speaking directly to the specific shape of your life and your need and your hope. These are not small things. In the economy of what actually matters, these are large things. The presence of love, however imperfect, is a large thing. The capacity for hope, however strained, is a large thing. The awareness of being known and held by something that does not leave, however difficult the season, is a large thing. Perceive what is actually there. Let the seeing of what is present be as clear and detailed as the seeing of what is absent, and in that fuller perception, something shifts. The season does not become easy, but it becomes survivable in a different way, the way that is sustainable rather than just endured. Something needs to be said about how you have been treating yourself in this season, the harshness of the internal voice. The standard you apply to yourself that you would never apply to someone you love who was going through what you are going through. The way you review your responses to difficult things and find them inadequate. The way you measure how you have handled this season against an imagined standard of how a properly spiritually developed person would handle it, and find the distance between where you are and that imagined standard to be evidence of your inadequacy. I want to be direct about this. That harshness is not from me. The critical internal voice that speaks to you about your own failures and inadequacies with a harshness that you would never use with anyone else. That voice is not mine. My voice toward you is not harsh. It is clear, yes, it is honest. It will point out things that need to change, but it does not do so with contempt or with the accumulated weight of evidence against you. or with the tone of someone who has run out of patience. I speak to you as a father who loves you completely and who is working toward your growth, and the voice that speaks to you with contempt and impatience and the heavy weight of recorded failures is not the voice you should be listening to. Be gentler with yourself than you have been, not softer in a way that avoids responsibility or that excuses what genuinely needs to change, but gentler in the way that a genuinely wise and loving parent is gentle with a child who is trying and struggling and sometimes failing. You are doing better than you think you are. You are holding on in ways that are more significant than you have given yourself credit for. You are further along the road than the harshness of your self-assessment allows you to see. I see you more clearly than you see yourself. And from where I stand, what I observe is someone worth investing in, worth speaking over, worth visiting today with the specific word that they specifically need. Moving forward from this moment, there are specific things I want to give you for the walking, things you are going to need for the stretches ahead that you cannot fully see yet. The first is clarity. Not the clarity that knows every step before it takes it, the clarity that knows what the next step is. The kind of direction that is sufficient for the moment rather than comprehensive for the entire journey. Sufficient clarity for the step in front of you, and then the next step, when you reach it, sufficient clarity for that one. This is how I guide, not by providing a map of the whole journey, by providing light for the next step. And the light is sufficient. It is always exactly sufficient. The second thing I want to give you for the path ahead is courage, not the courage that feels no fear. The courage that acts despite the fear. The capacity to do what needs to be done even when doing it costs something, even when it involves the risk of getting it wrong. Even when the outcome is uncertain and the doing of it exposes you to the possibility of disappointment, that courage is available to you, not because you manufactured it through discipline or willpower, but because you have access to a source of it that is not located inside your finite human capacity. The courage I provide is different from what you can produce. It is steady in the places where your own courage fluctuates. It is available when your own has run out. It is calibrated exactly to what each moment requires. Ask for it. In each moment when you need it, it will be there. The third thing is peace. The specific kind I described earlier, the kind that is not a function of circumstances, the kind that persists in the middle of what has not yet resolved. That peace is available to you right now. Not on the other side of the difficulty, in the middle of it. It is accessible through the act of releasing what you have been gripping, through the practice of trusting me with what you have been trying to manage, through the choice, made repeatedly and with effort, to set down what was not meant for you to carry. That practice produces peace, not all at once, incrementally, but genuinely. And the peace that builds through that practice is more durable than the peace that is simply the result of circumstances cooperating. The fourth thing I want to give you is renewed hope, not naive hope that pretends the difficulty is not real. Grounded hope that knows the difficulty is real and believes that the one who is greater than the difficulty is also present in it, working in it, using it for something that will be worth the cost of it. The hope that can say, I do not know exactly how this resolves, but I know who is involved in the resolution, and knowing who is involved is sufficient to keep hoping. Let that hope be renewed in you today. Let it come back to places in you where it has grown thin. Let me breathe it back into the places where the extended waiting has depleted it. Receive renewed hope as a gift, brought directly to you on purpose today. And the fifth thing I want to give you is a sense of my nearness. Not the conceptual nearness of the God who is theoretically omnipresent, the felt nearness of the one who has specifically come to where you are, who is specifically present in this moment, who is specifically engaged with the details of your specifically difficult season. The awareness of being known and not alone. This is what I have come to bring you today. This awareness, this sense of presence, this knowing that you are not navigating anything without companionship, that every stretch of road ahead of you has the same companion on it that has been on every stretch behind you, that what was true of my faithfulness in your past is true of my faithfulness in your present and in your future. Not alone, not now, not ever. Let me speak now about the specific future that I am preparing for you. Not in terms of specific events and dates and outcomes, because that level of detail would remove the faith element that is essential to the kind of relationship I am building with you, but in terms of the quality of what is coming, not the content, but the character of it. What is coming into your life carries the quality of answer, of provision meeting need, of hope being vindicated, of the things you have trusted me for arriving in a form that is recognizable as the fulfillment of what you asked for, even if the specific shape is different from what you imagined. The future that is being prepared for you is not a consolation prize, not a lesser version of what you hoped for that I am substituting because the original was too complicated to arrange. It is the real thing, being prepared with care, being shaped to fit the actual person you are and the actual purpose you carry rather than the person you think you are and the purpose you have imagined. What you have been asking for is coming, not necessarily in the exact form you specified when you first asked for it, because you have grown and changed since you first asked, and what you would ask for today is informed by a deeper understanding of yourself and what you actually need. The answer that is coming is calibrated to who you are now, not to who you were when you first started asking. That calibration makes it more valuable, not less. It is going to fit, and when it fits, you will understand why the timing was what it was, because the timing that felt too long was actually exactly long enough for the person receiving the answer to be the person who can receive it in the way it deserves to be received. People in your life who have needed healing, specific healing, emotional, relational, physical, the ones you have prayed for and worried about, I am at work in them, not passively holding space, actively working, moving in the hidden places of their lives that you do not have access to, speaking in the moments between your conversations with them, arranging encounters and circumstances and internal shifts that are too subtle to announce themselves, but that are moving in the direction of what you have been asking for on their behalf. Keep praying for them. Keep holding hope for them. The work is in motion. Your home that has been a place of difficulty is going to become a place of peace, not by the removal of every challenging person or situation, but by the presence of something in the atmosphere of that space that changes the quality of what exists there. I bring that presence when I visit, and the visit does not end when this moment ends. I remain. What I bring when I come to a place does not pack up and leave when the initial moment of arrival has passed. The healing I bring keeps working. The peace I establish keeps holding. The power I release keeps moving. What happens when I come into a situation is not temporary, it is lasting. The territory of your home is being marked by my presence today, and what is marked by my presence does not remain unchanged. Protection that you and your family need is being deployed around you right now, not as a concept, as an actual, active, specific protection of the people and the situation I am visiting today. The forces that have been working against your peace, your health, your relationships, your provision, your purpose, they are being addressed, not by your effort, by mine. You do not have to fight the battles that belong to me to fight. You are asked to stand, to trust, to pray, to do what is yours to do in the natural realm. The warfare that is above that level is mine to wage, and I wage it on your behalf with everything that I am. This is the word I bring to your home today. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not losing. You are not less than what you have been called to be. You are loved. You are held. You are in a season of preparation that is more significant than it looks, and everything that I have spoken over your life is still active and still true and still moving toward its fulfillment. The desert you have been walking through is not the destination. It is the terrain between where you were and where you are going. And what you are going to is better than where you were before the desert started. I am with you. I have always been with you. I am going to continue being with you through every remaining step of every remaining season, and the one who is with you is sufficient for everything that lies ahead. Every mountain, every valley, every desert stretch, every place of sudden and unexpected abundance, every relationship that needs my involvement, every situation that exceeds your capacity, every dream that seems too large for what currently surrounds you, every hope that seems too long deferred to still be worth hoping for. In all of it, I am with you. You are going to be all right. That is my word to you today. Not a wish, a word, spoken by the one whose words do not return empty, spoken over the specific details of your specific life, with the authority of the one who made you and who loves you and who has never lost a single one of the ones who trusted him. You are going to be all right, and I am going to be with you every step of the way to the being all right. Walk forward, my beloved heart. The next step is in front of you, and I am beside you on it. And the one after that is also already prepared, and the one after that, all the way to the destination, all the way home. There is a particular quality of suffering that comes from walking through difficulty in plain sight of people who do not fully understand what you are walking through. You show up to the ordinary requirements of your life, the responsibilities and the relationships and the routine, and you do it all while carrying something that most of the people around you cannot see clearly. You perform the function of the person you are expected to be, while the interior reality of who you are in this season is much more complex, much more strained, much more in need of what only I can provide. This kind of invisible suffering is its own specific burden added to the visible one. The maintenance of the appearance of managing when managing is genuinely difficult costs, more than it looks like it costs from the outside. I see the interior reality, not just the functional exterior that most people see. The place inside you that is not performing. The place that is just being, just existing in the difficulty, just trying to hold on to something that has not yet resolved. That place is what I am speaking to today. Not the performance of okayness, the actual interior space where what is real lives. And what I am saying to that real interior space is, you do not have to be okay for me to be with you. You do not have to manage the appearance of your interior life for me the way you manage it for the people around you who could not handle seeing it as it actually is. With me, you can simply be as you are. I know the specific things about your situation that make it harder than the general description would suggest. I know the way the particular people involved add complexity that is difficult to explain to someone on the outside. I know the history that makes certain aspects of this season carry weight that they would not carry in a different life. I know the wounds from earlier seasons that are being pressed on by what is happening now, not because they are the same as what happened then, but because pain that was not fully healed has a way of reactivating when new pressure arrives in the same vicinity. I know all of that. The multi-layered quality of your pain, the way it is both about now and also about earlier things that now is bringing back to the surface. I see it. And what I am bringing today is large enough to address all of it. Not just the most recent layer, all the way down to the layers that were there before this season started. Let me stay with the healing theme for a significant amount of time, because I think this is what you most need today, and I do not want to move past it quickly as if it were just one item in a list of things to cover. Healing is the central word of this visit. I have come to your home with healing as my primary intention, not healing as a side effect of something else I am doing here. Healing as the explicit purpose of my presence in this moment. Healing from what has happened, not just the things that happened in this season, though those require healing. The things that happened before this season that left places in you that were not properly tended to. The places where something should have been given that was withheld. Where something that was not yours to bear was placed on you anyway. Where someone who should have protected you, I didn't. Where someone who should have been safe proved to be something other than safe. Where trust that was extended in appropriate places was not received appropriately. The accumulation of those places, each one relatively small, perhaps on its own, but forming over time a pattern of hurt that has shaped the way you move through the world. Those are what I am touching today. Healing that comes to old places feels different from what happens in the immediate processing of recent pain. It is quieter. It does not always announce itself. It often feels more like a gentle warmth moving through a place that was cold than like a dramatic event. You may not even be immediately aware that something is shifting in some of the older, more buried places, but the shift is happening. The warmth is moving. The places that were closed off and defended are being gently asked whether they would be willing to open just a little, just enough to let some light reach what has been in the dark for a long time. And when those places open, even a little, the healing that has been waiting to enter them can begin. This is the invitation I am extending to every defended place in you today. Not a demand, not a requirement, an invitation. You are allowed to choose how quickly you open. You are allowed to go at the pace of what feels genuinely safe, rather than the pace that looks spiritually impressive from the outside. Real healing is not a performance. It is a process that happens at whatever pace is actually sustainable for the person being healed. And I am patient. I have been waiting for some of these places for a long time. I will not be frustrated by the slowness of their opening. I am simply glad when they begin. Something you need to understand about healing is that it does not erase the story. It redeems it. The things that happen to you, the difficult and painful things, are part of your story. They do not get removed when you heal. What changes is the relationship between you and them. A wound that is healed still leaves a scar, but a scar is not the same as an open wound. The scar is stable. It is finished. It does not bleed anymore. It does not produce the same kind of pain when it is touched that the open wound produced. It is part of the landscape of your life, visible evidence that something difficult happened, but no longer the center of your pain. And a scar, properly understood, is also evidence of surviving, evidence that you were wounded and did not succumb, evidence that the wound was tended and closed. The scar tells a story of resilience that the healed version of you gets to carry forward. I am also here to speak to the weariness that has settled into your body, the specific kind of tired that comes not from physical exertion, but from sustained emotional and spiritual effort, the exhaustion of the long run, the depletion that is the result not of one dramatic event, but of many ordinary days of carrying something heavy, navigating something complicated, maintaining something that requires constant attention. This kind of weariness is different from the kind that a full night of sleep addresses. It is deeper. It sits in your bones. It affects the quality of your presence in everything you do. It makes ordinary moments feel heavier than they should. It makes the idea of sustained joy feel like a distant memory from a different season. I want to restore your energy. Not just physically, though, that matters. The deeper energy, the energy of hope, the energy of engagement, the capacity to be genuinely present in your life rather than simply present in the functional sense, while the interior is somewhere else managing what you are carrying. I want to restore the part of you that used to be able to be delighted by ordinary things, that used to be able to feel wonder without immediately bumping up against the weight of what is currently hard. That capacity is not gone. It is depleted, and depletion is different from destruction. What is depleted can be replenished, and the replenishing is what I am here to begin. There is water available in this desert. I have brought it. Not to pour it out at a distance for you to notice from where you are, to bring it to you, to offer it directly in the specific form that your specific thirst requires. The water I bring is the presence of peace in the middle of what has not yet resolved. It is the sense of being held by someone who does not drop what he holds. It is the renewed ability to hope for what I have promised, even when the current evidence does not support the hoping. It is the specific encouragement of being told the true thing about who you are and what I am doing in your life by the one who has full knowledge of both. These are forms of water, not the water that requires your circumstances to change before it is available. Water that is available right here in the desert to the person who is in it. Drink. This is not a metaphor that requires you to perform a ritual to access. It is an invitation to receive what is actually being offered in this moment. To let the words that are true actually land in the true place rather than the surface place where words go that are heard but not received. To let the presence that is actually present in this moment be felt rather than merely acknowledged intellectually. To let the love that is actually directed at you today reach the places that need it rather than being deflected by the armor that is developed over seasons of needing armor. You are safe here, open just enough to receive. I want to talk about the fear of repeating old patterns, the fear that even if things improve, even if the current difficulty begins to resolve, the same patterns will eventually reassert themselves. The same dynamics will return. The same cycle will complete itself, and you will find yourself back in familiar, painful territory. This fear is one of the most insidious ones I see in people who have lived through difficult seasons more than once, who have experienced the hope of improvement followed by the disappointment of regression. The fear says, even if this gets better, it will only get worse again. Even if there is a season of relief, the underlying things that produce the difficulty will not have changed and will eventually produce the same results again. I want to address that fear directly and specifically. The transformation I bring when I come into a situation is not temporary. What I heal at the root. What I change at the level of what was producing the pattern rather than only at the level of the symptom. The cycle you are afraid of repeating does not have to repeat. The things that drove it are accessible to me at levels that are not accessible to any human process of change. The root level work that no amount of willpower or strategy or human effort can reach is exactly what I do. When I come into the root of something and change it, the pattern changes. Not automatically, not without the cooperation of the person involved, but genuinely and sustainably. What I change stays changed when the person who received the change continues to walk with me in the direction of the change. You are not doomed to repeat what you have been through. The past, however painful and however instructive, is not a prophecy about your future. The patterns that have operated in your life up to now do not have to be the patterns that define the remainder of your life. I am the God of new beginnings. I am the one who makes all things new. That language is not merely inspirational vocabulary. It describes something real that I actually do. I make things new, not the same things in slightly improved form. Actually new. The qualitative transformation that turns the pattern itself rather than just adjusting the behavior within the pattern. That is available to you. That is what this visit is about. Now, I want to speak at length about something that I think is central to what you need in this season. The restoration of your sense of purpose. The clarity of knowing that your life is going somewhere, that the things you are investing yourself in have meaning, that the effort you are putting into your ordinary days is building towards something that matters. This clarity has been one of the casualties of the difficult season. When you are in the desert for a long time, the sense of direction can become confused. You know where you came from, but you are less sure of where you're going. You have the memories of what felt meaningful before the desert started, but you are less certain of what meaning looks like in the current terrain. And when purpose feels unclear, the motivation to keep walking becomes more effortful. The ordinary moments feel less significant, and the whole enterprise of your life can start to feel like it is treading water rather than moving toward anything. Your life is going somewhere. That is not a general statement about how God has a plan for everyone. It is a specific statement about you, about the direction your life is moving, about the things that are being built in you and through you that are serving something that exists in the world beyond the borders of your current awareness. You are not treading water. You are moving. The movement is sometimes slow, and the terrain sometimes makes it hard to see that movement is happening. But the seed does not stop growing just because you cannot observe the growth from the surface. The roots are going down, and the structure is being assembled, and the direction is real, even when it is not yet visible. What you carry in terms of purpose is not small. This is important for you to hear, because the difficult season has a way of making purpose feel small, making the things you do feel inadequate, making the contribution you are making seem insignificant. But the contribution you are making is not insignificant. What you have invested in the lives of the people around you, the love you have extended even from depletion, the faithfulness you have shown, even when showing up cost you, the prayers you have prayed, the example you have set of continuing to trust when trust required real effort, all of that is not small. It is the substance of a life that is making a real difference, not necessarily in the visible, measurable ways that produce external recognition, in the ways that matter. In the lives of specific people who have been touched by what you have chosen to do and be in this season. The purpose that extends beyond what you can currently see, the larger story that your life is part of. I can see it from where I stand, and it is significant, not in the way that requires your name to be known broadly, in the way that requires you to be exactly where you are, doing exactly what you are doing, being shaped by exactly what is shaping you, so that what is built in you through this process can be used in the ways it is meant to be used in the seasons ahead. The person you are becoming through this is the person who is needed for what comes next, And what comes next, when you arrive there, is going to make sense of everything that preceded it in ways that are not yet visible to you now. Let me turn now toward the relationships in your life that have been damaged or strained in this season. Not the ones that are clearly over, but the ones that are in a state of uncertain suspension, where something happened or something was not said, or something accumulated over time in a way that left a gap that has not yet been crossed. The relationships that you think about with a mixture of sadness and hope. Sadness because of what the distance has cost both people. Hope because something in you still believes that the gap could be closed. Reconciliation is not always possible with every person in your life, and I am not asking you to pursue it with people for whom it would be unsafe or harmful. But for the relationships where the obstacle to reconnection is primarily the accumulated weight of unspoken things and unaddressed hurt, reconciliation is possible. Not easy, not immediate, not guaranteed to look exactly like what existed before the damage, but possible. And possible is where the work of hope can begin. The first movement toward healing a damaged relationship is almost always the same: the willingness to see the other person's humanity rather than only their offense. The ability to hold the truth that they hurt you, while also holding the truth that they are a person who is themselves wounded in ways that produce the behavior that hurt you. This is not the same as excusing the behavior. It is the expansion of the lens through which you see them, from the narrowed lens of the offense to the wider lens of the full human being. That wider seeing is what makes real reconciliation possible. It allows you to engage with a person rather than with a case against a person, and engagement with a person rather than with their case is what creates the possibility of something actually changing between you. I am going to give you words when the time comes for the conversations that need to happen, the ones you have been avoiding because you don't know how to say what needs to be said without it going badly. The ones you have been preparing for in your head and then setting aside because the imagined version of how they could go has frightened you into silence. When the moment arrives for those conversations, you are not going to be alone in them. I am going to be in the room, not to control the outcome because the other person has freedom I will not override, but to give you the clarity and the calm and the words that you need to say what is true without it being weaponized. To help you approach the conversation from the place of healing rather than the place of wound. And conversations that come from the place of healing have a different quality than conversations that come from the place of wound. They land differently. They are received differently. They create different possibilities. I want to address something about the nature of forgiveness, because I think there is confusion in you about what it asks of you and what it does not ask. Forgiveness does not ask you to pretend that what happened was acceptable. It does not ask you to minimize the impact of what you experienced. It does not ask you to immediately trust someone who has not yet rebuilt the conditions of trust. It does not ask you to return to the same proximity or the same role in a relationship that damaged you without evidence that the dynamic has genuinely changed. Forgiveness does not require any of those things. What forgiveness does ask is the release of the debt, the letting go of the position of creditor, the position of the person to whom something is owed that has not yet been fully repaid, the relinquishment of the right to demand that the other person compensate you sufficiently before you can be free of the weight of what they did to you. Forgiveness is not about them. It is about you. It is the act by which you unshackle yourself from the thing that they did, so that the thing they did is no longer the thing that has the most influence over your interior state. You release it, not because they deserve to be released from consequences. You release it because holding on to it is costing you something that you cannot afford to keep paying. When you forgive, You do not erase what happened. You change your relationship to it. You move from being controlled by it to being free of it, and the freedom that comes from genuine forgiveness, the actual lightening of the interior weight that happened when you stopped carrying the position of creditor, is one of the most significant gifts I can offer you through this season. It does not come without cost. The cost is the laying down of the right to be compensated, but what you receive when you lay it down is worth more than anything the compensation could have provided. I am asking you today to consider what you are holding that is ready to be released, not because the person who gave it to you deserves the release, but because you deserve the freedom, because what you are carrying in the position of unforgiven creditor is heavier than it looks and is costing you more than you have been accounting for. Bring it to me. Lay it here. You do not have to resolve how justice will be served. That is my territory. Justice is mine to do. Your territory is the freedom that comes when you let me handle what you have been trying to carry on behalf of justice. Put it down. Let me take it. Something has been affecting you at a level below your conscious daily awareness, but that has been shaping the quality of your life in this season in ways that are significant. It deserves to be named directly. The way you have been talking to yourself about yourself, not out loud, not in ways others can hear, but in the constant internal monologue that runs beneath the surface of all your thoughts and choices and responses. That internal voice has been speaking to you in this season with a harshness that is added to the weight you are already carrying, a harshness that you have not recognized as harmful because it has been present for so long that it has come to feel normal. The internal voice that says you should be further along than you are. The voice that measures the current difficulty and finds it evidence of your inadequacy. The voice that reviews your responses to hard things and identifies every way you could have handled it better. The voice that takes the most compassionate view of everyone around you and the most critical view of you. That voice is not me. I want to be absolutely clear about this. That relentless internal critic is not the sound of my presence in your life. The voice that speaks to you with contempt and impatience and the accumulated weight of all your recorded failures, that is not my voice. My voice towards you is completely different. When I speak to you about things that need to change in your life, I do so with the tone of a father who loves you and who believes in your capacity to become what you are being called to become. Not the tone of a disappointed creditor itemizing your defaults. Not the tone of an impatient judge who has been waiting too long for better results. The tone of someone who loves you and is fully committed to your growth and who speaks truth about what needs to change in the context of that love and commitment. That tone is different from what you have been hearing in your own head about yourself, and the difference matters. Because the critical internal voice does not produce the kind of change that my voice produces. The critical voice produces shame and hiding. My voice produces honest acknowledgement and genuine movement. Let go of the critical voice. It is not helpful, and it is not from me. Something you need more than you have been receiving is real rest. Not sleep alone, important as sleep is, but the kind that is the genuine restoration of what has been worn down, the repair of what has been damaged, the replenishment of what has been depleted. This kind of rest is not primarily physical, though physical rest matters and you have not been getting enough of it. The rest I am speaking about is the rest that comes from genuinely laying down the burdens you have been carrying, genuinely releasing what has been gripping you, genuinely ceasing the internal effort of managing everything that your mind has been trying to manage through this season. There is a particular posture of rest that I want to invite you into. not the posture of the person who is trying to rest while still keeping one hand on what they are afraid to fully release. The posture of the person who is genuinely, entirely trusted the one holding the things they were carrying and can therefore fully stop carrying them. The posture where the internal machinery that has been running overtime, reviewing and processing and worrying and planning and anticipating, can genuinely stop for a period. Where the silence is actual silence rather than a brief pause between one round of worry and the next. This kind of rest is not passive. It is the active choice to trust completely rather than partially, to release completely rather than provisionally. It is an act of will, and it is also a gift. I want to give you the capacity for it today, not just the instruction to do it, the actual capacity, the interior resource that makes it possible to do what you could not do on your own willpower. Come into rest. Let me hold what you have been holding. Let the machinery quiet down. Let the silence be actual silence. You are safe here, fully. Nothing is going to fall apart because you let yourself rest. Everything I am holding will still be there when you return from the rest. And you will return from the rest better equipped for what comes next than you were going into it. Let me address the future in a way that is specific enough to be actually encouraging rather than generically hopeful. There are things ahead of you in this life that you are going to be genuinely glad to have arrived at, not because the path to them was easy or because the difficulty you are currently in was justified by what is ahead, but because what is ahead is genuinely good and genuinely worth the journey. The life that exists on the other side of this season, the version of your life that will exist when this chapter has been completed and the next one has begun, that version is better than this one. Not because this one is without value, but because what is being built through this one is adding something to the next one that the next one would not have had without this one. The relationships in your future that have not yet formed, the opportunities that have not yet presented themselves, the capacities that are being built in you right now that will make you able to do things that you would not have been able to do without having walked through what you are walking through. These things are ahead of you. Real things, not vague promises. Actual, specific, coming towards you realities that are being prepared for the person who arrives at them, and the person who arrives at them is being prepared by this season. Let me be specific about a few of the things I see coming. I see provision entering a place that has been under pressure, not necessarily all at once, not necessarily in the most dramatic form, but real provision meeting real need in a way that will carry the unmistakable quality of my involvement. I see healing in a relationship that has been in a difficult state, the healing that comes not from the removal of all difficulty between two people, but from the authentic shift in at least one person that changes the dynamic in a way that makes the relationship genuinely better. I see clarity arriving in a situation where you have been confused about direction, the kind of clarity that comes not from more analysis but from a sudden knowing that settles the question in a way that no amount of trying to figure it out could produce. I see breakthrough in an area that has seemed most resistant to change, not the breakthrough that bypasses the process, but the breakthrough that arrives because the process has been completed. And I see you on the other side of this season, not the same person who entered it, but someone who has been shaped by it in ways that are visible and valuable, and that tell the story of what good work I did in you through the difficulty of this time. These are not vague hopes. They are specific things I am moving toward in your life. Some of them are closer than you can see from where you stand. Some of them require more preparation before they arrive, but all of them are in motion. All of them are coming, and all of them are worth the holding on. there is something I want to say about the day-by-day faithfulness of your ordinary life that I do not want to leave unsaid. The ways you have kept showing up for the things that needed to be shown up for. The consistency of your presence in your own life, even when the motivation to be present was not supplied by positive feelings about what you were showing up to. The way you have made choices toward health and toward what is right, even in seasons when making those choices cost you something, and when the reward for making them was not immediately visible. This ordinary faithfulness, the kind that happens without an audience and without immediate reinforcement, is extremely precious to me. The person who is faithful when no one is watching and when the results are not yet visible is demonstrating something that the person who is faithful only when conditions are favorable cannot demonstrate. They are showing that their faithfulness is not primarily a response to conditions. It is an expression of character. The character that is being built in you through the ordinary faithfulness of this ordinary difficult season is not ordinary. It is rare. And rare things have value that common things do not have. What you are building through the ordinary faithfulness of this time is going to be evident in your life in ways that you will not be able to fully account for, because the accounting would require you to trace every ordinary faithful choice back to its contribution to who you are becoming, and that accounting is too intricate for any human mind to perform, but I can see it, and what I see is significant. Let me talk to you about something that I think will help you in the days ahead. The practice of speaking what is true rather than what you feel. This is not the practice of denial, of saying you feel fine when you feel terrible. That kind of false speech is not what I am recommending. I am recommending something different. The practice of naming what you know alongside what you feel, so that what you know has as much voice in your interior as what you feel. So that when you feel afraid, you also speak what you know. I know that the one who is with me is greater than what I face. When you feel alone, you also speak what you know. I know that I am not abandoned, that the one who is with me has not moved. When you feel like things are not going to work out, you also speak what you know. I know that the one who has made promises keeps them, and that what has been promised over my life is still in motion. The speaking is not pretending. The speaking is the choice to bring what you know into equal presence with what you feel, so that the feelings do not have the only voice in the room, because feelings, however real and however valid, are not always accurate about the full reality. They are accurate about your experience of the moment. They are not always accurate about the truth of the larger situation. And what you know about me, what I have demonstrated to you through every season of your life, is more reliable as a guide than what you feel in the most difficult moments of a particular season. Practice this, not as a technique for feeling better, though it may produce that as a side effect, as a form of truth-telling, the truth that you are loved, the truth that you are held, the truth that what I have promised is still active. The truth that the difficulty you are in is not the final word on your story. The truth that I am here, right now, in this specific place, with healing and power and the specific things you need for this specific moment. Speak these truths, not because you always feel them, but because they are true. And as you speak them, in time, you will find that the speaking of them changes something in the interior, shifts something in the orientation of your heart, moves you gradually from a state of being overwhelmed by feeling to a state of being informed by what you know. The truths you speak become the ground you stand on. I want to spend some time now speaking about the nature of waiting, because waiting is something you know intimately right now, and I believe it deserves more than a brief acknowledgement. It deserves a real examination, because waiting, when it is understood rightly, is not simply the dead time between asking and receiving. It is an active spiritual reality with its own particular demands and its own particular gifts. There are different kinds of waiting. There is passive waiting, which is simply the passing of time during which nothing much is happening on the part of the one waiting. And there is active waiting, which is the sustained engagement of faith and trust and prayer and practical faithfulness in the ordinary moments of life while the specific thing being waited for has not yet arrived. The first kind produces nothing in particular. The second kind produces exactly the kind of character and depth of relationship that I am after in a life. Active waiting is where some of the most significant formation happens. It is where the faith that has been received as information is tested and either proven hollow or proven solid. And when it is proven solid, when the person who was waiting with active faith reaches the end of the waiting and looks back at how they waited, they often find that they are not the same person who began the wait. Something happened in them during the waiting that would not have happened any other way. The thing that most makes active waiting possible is the settled conviction that the one you are waiting toward is trustworthy. Not just theoretically trustworthy, as in the abstract category of one who is generally reliable, but personally trustworthy, as in one who has specific and demonstrated faithfulness in the particular history of your particular relationship. That is why I spend so much time asking you to remember what I have done, not because I want you to be nostalgic, or because the past is more important than the present, but because the evidence of my faithfulness in your past is what provides the ground for trusting me in your present. You have seen me come through before. That seeing is not irrelevant to the current situation. That evidence should inform the way you wait. You are not waiting with no evidence. You are waiting with the evidence of a lifetime of my faithfulness towards you, imperfectly perceived and imperfectly received, but real. And that evidence is enough to wait on. The particular thing you are waiting for right now, I have not forgotten it. I have not shelved it. I have not determined that it is not something I am going to address in your life. I am working on it. The work looks different from my perspective than it does from yours, because I can see the full scope of what needs to be arranged before the answer arrives in a form that will hold, and you can only see the surface of what appears to be stillness, but the stillness is not actual stillness. The arrangement is happening. The preparation is underway, and the answer is coming in my time, which is not arbitrary time. It is the time that is exactly right for everything that needs to be in place to be in place. Trust the timing, even when you cannot see the reason for it. Part of what makes my timing trustworthy is that I am not working only on the single thing you are waiting for. I am working on the entire ecosystem of circumstances that surrounds it, the people who need to be ready, the conditions that need to be in place, the capacity in you that needs to be developed to receive and steward well what is coming. All of that is being prepared simultaneously in ways that are invisible from any one vantage point, but that are moving with precision toward a convergence that, when it comes, will carry the unmistakable quality of something arranged rather than something accidental. Hold on to that understanding in the moments when the waiting feels like nothing is happening. A great deal is happening, more than you can see, and it is all moving toward the moment that is being prepared for you. Let me talk about the spiritual battles that are part of the landscape of your life. The kind that are not visible as battles from the outside because they happen in the interior realm, in the fight for the stability of your faith, in the ongoing resistance to the lies that try to enter and occupy the mental space that should be occupied by what I have spoken. These battles are real. They are waged against you with real intention. The strategy is not random. It is aimed specifically at the points where your faith is most vulnerable, the places where the evidence seems thinnest, the moments when the silence has been longest, the times when the comparison with someone else's visible blessing makes your own invisible preparation seem inadequate. Those are the points of attack. Knowing the strategy does not automatically win the battle, but it changes the nature of your engagement with what you are experiencing. When you understand that the thought that is trying to convince you that I have forgotten you is not a neutral assessment of the evidence but an active attempt to undermine your trust, you can receive it differently. You can say, "This is not what I know. What I know is that the one who has always been faithful is still faithful," and you can refuse to give the lie the authority it is trying to take. That refusal, repeated in the ordinary moments of the ordinary day, is spiritual warfare at the ground level. Not dramatic, not impressive looking from the outside, but genuinely effective. The lie that is consistently refused loses influence, and the truth that is consistently spoken gains it. There is a specific lie that I want to address here because I hear it being whispered in the background of your experience of this season. The lie says, "You have reached the limit of what God is going to do for you. The best of what was available to you has already happened, and what remains is the management of a life that has reached its ceiling." The lie says that what you hope for is too much, that the prayer you are praying is too large, that what you are asking for is beyond the scope of what is actually intended for you. That lie is specifically crafted for the person who has been waiting long enough that the size of the hope starts to seem like a liability rather than an asset. This lie is entirely false. There is no ceiling on what I am able and willing to do in a life that is surrendered to me. There is no version of any human life where the best of what I had for them was entirely in the past and what remains is only diminishment. That is not how I work. Every season of a life that is genuinely mine has purpose. Every chapter contributes to something. The person who gave everything over to me at 50 is not working with depleted resources. The person who finds their way back to me after wandering does not receive only what is left after the wandering. I work with the full range of what is available in a human life, regardless of the point at which the genuine surrender occurs. The future that is available to you right now in this season, from this specific point on the road, is not a diminished version of what would have been available if the path had been easier. It is the full future that exists for the person who is exactly where you are right now, and that full future is significant. Do not let the lie about your ceiling be the thing that determines how you pray. Pray as large as the desire in your heart. Pray as specifically as the knowledge you have of what you genuinely need. Pray as persistently as the promise you have received that I respond to the persistent prayer of the one who believes. The size of your request does not intimidate me. The persistence of your asking does not exhaust me. The specificity of what you need does not exceed my ability to provide. Ask. Keep asking. Believe that what you are asking is genuinely available to you. And watch. Something is going to become increasingly relevant to your life in the seasons ahead. The specific calling on your life to be present for others who are in the desert, not as a volunteer who does the desert care work while personally experiencing ease, but as someone who is able to be genuinely present for others in the desert because you have been genuinely in the desert yourself. The qualification for this specific ministry is not training or credential or institutional recognition. It is lived experience of what the desert feels like from the inside and what the provision of my presence in the desert means when it arrives. You are being qualified right now. through what you are walking through. The people you are going to help in the future, the ones who are going to hear your voice as someone who genuinely knows, are the reason that this season is as long and as deep as it is. The depth of your future effectiveness requires this depth of current experience. This is not a comfortable frame through which to view a difficult season. I am not asking you to embrace the difficulty because you have found a spiritual justification for it. I am telling you something true about the purpose the difficulty is serving, so that the suffering is not entirely without the consolation of meaning. It is serving something. And when you stand in a room with someone who is in the early stages of what you are currently in the middle of, and you are able to say to them, "I know what this feels like from the inside, and the one who is present with me is present with you," you are going to carry with you a quality of authority and compassion that changes the room. That does not come from easy seasons. It comes from hard ones that were walked with me rather than without me. Let me return to the theme of healing one more time, because I want to leave you with something specific and personal about what healing looks like for you in the days and weeks ahead. Not the long view of eventual total healing, the near view of what is happening right now and what is going to continue to happen in the ordinary moments of the ordinary days of your life as I work in you. Healing often arrives in quiet moments. In the moment between waking and full consciousness, in the brief space before the day's concerns have fully assembled themselves, there can be a quality of peace that was not there before. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It is simply there, a quiet that is a little fuller than it was, a settledness that did not arrive through any effort of your own. That is healing happening. Pay attention to those moments. Receive them as evidence that the work is taking place. Do not immediately interrogate them or demand that they prove their durability before you allow yourself to experience them. Just receive. Just let the quiet be quiet. Healing arrives in the moment when you think of something that used to produce immediate sharp pain and find that it produces something softer, not no response at all, but a different texture of response. The sharp edge has been smoothed slightly. The immediate stabbing quality has become something more like an ache. That is healing, not completion, but direction. The trajectory is toward less pain, and the healing is moving in that direction even when the movement is imperceptible from moment to moment. Healing arrives in the moment when you are able to pray for someone who hurt you without the prayer being contaminated by the need for them to suffer or be reduced. When you can genuinely hold them before me and ask for something good for them, even while acknowledging that what they did was not good, that is a form of healing. It is not the proof that the hurt is fully processed. It is the evidence that your heart is not hardening around the wound, that the wound is staying soft enough to eventually fully heal rather than calcifying into bitterness. These are the signs to look for: the quiet moments, the softening of pain, the capacity for genuine prayer for those who hurt you. They are the evidence that I am at work, that the visit is doing what visits do, that the healing that came into this home is working its way through the layers of what needed to be healed. Receive these signs when they come. Let them encourage you. Let them be the proof you need that this is real, that what I am saying is not merely hopeful language, but actual description of actual things happening in your actual interior life. Healing also changes how you carry your own story. Before healing, the difficult chapters are the ones that define the whole book, the ones that seem loudest when you describe your life to yourself. After healing, they take their proper proportion. They become chapters among chapters, seasons among seasons, events in a longer arc that does not begin or end with the hard part. When I work deeply in a life, I do not remove the hard chapters. I restore the person's ability to hold them in perspective, to see them as part of a story that is still going somewhere rather than as the final word on what the story is about. That restoration of perspective is itself a form of healing, and it produces a different kind of person, one who can look at their own history with honesty and without being flattened by what they see, because they know that what they see is not all there is. There is more. There has always been more. And there is more still to come. I am going to close this time with you by speaking something very directly and simply over you and over your home and over the people who share your life. Over you. You are loved with a love that does not waver, that does not diminish, that does not evaluate your worthiness before it extends itself. You are loved with everything that I am, directed entirely at everything that you are. Over your home, this is a place I have visited today, and my presence does not leave when the moment of recognition passes. What I bring when I come does not depart when the acute awareness of my coming fades. The peace I establish here is real peace. The healing I release here is real healing. The protection I deploy here is real protection. Over the people who share your life, they are known to me, every one of them in their fullness and their complexity and their need and their potential. And I am moving toward each of them with the specific form of love and intervention that each of them most needs. The family you care for is the family I care for, and what I care for, I tend. Walk into the ordinary moments of the days ahead, carrying what you have received here today, not as a burden of religious obligation, as a genuine gift that is actually yours, that actually belongs to you, that you are actually allowed to keep and use and lean on and return to when the difficulty of the ordinary days makes it feel as though the distance is not real. The gift is real. Come back to it as often as you need to. It does not expire. It does not diminish with use. The more you lean on it, the more available it becomes. Every difficult thing in your life is going to shift. Your family is going to be all right. The situation that has pressed hardest is going to move. The healing that has begun today is going to continue. My presence will be with you through every step of every day that lies between now and the visible completion of everything I have begun in your life. Every single step, not most of them, every one. I am the one who came to your home today. I am the one who stays. I am the one who loves you completely and works in your life faithfully and holds you through every difficult season and brings you out the other side. I am with you. There is something connected to everything said so far that deserves its own extended space. The question of what it means to be genuinely loved, not theoretically loved, actually loved. Loved in the way that makes a difference to how you move through your life. Loved in a way that changes what is possible for you. Loved in the way that reaches the places where the deficit of love has left its marks. Most human beings who reach adult life carry some form of a love deficit. Not because everyone around them failed completely, but because human love, however genuine, is always limited by the limitations of the people extending it. Human love gets tired. Human love misses things. Human love cannot sustain the level of attention and care and specificity that the human heart, in its deepest design, actually requires. The gap between the love that is available from human sources and the love that the human heart was made to receive is real, and it is felt, not always consciously, but in the particular hungers that drive certain behaviors, in the specific ways that certain patterns of relating have formed, in the deep and persistent sense that if people really knew all of you, they might not choose to stay. That gap is the gap I am designed to fill, not to replace human love, which has its own irreplaceable value, but to fill the space that human love cannot reach, to provide the level and quality of attention and knowing and acceptance that the human heart was actually designed for, that cannot be sourced from other humans, but that leaves the human heart chronically hungry when it is not received. What I offer is love at the level of your design, love that knows every part of you and chooses you in full knowledge of all of it, love that is not limited by fatigue or distraction or self-interest, love that is specifically calibrated to the particular shape of your heart and what your heart most needs to receive. I want you to receive this love, not just know that it exists, actually receive it. Let it reach the places where the deficit lives, the places that have developed compensatory strategies over the years for dealing with the chronic lack, the places that have concluded that if love requires this much waiting and effort, maybe it is not worth continuing to want it. Let it reach those places. Let the awareness that you are genuinely, completely, specifically loved by the one who made you and knows you fully start to shift something in the orientation of your heart toward what is possible in your life. The love I carry for you is not generic. It is not the kind that is extended equally in the same form to everyone. It is shaped for you. It knows the specific things that make you feel genuinely seen versus the things that make you feel seen in appearance only. It knows the particular quality of care that actually reaches you versus the kind that lands on the surface without penetrating. It knows what you most need to hear and how you most need to hear it. This is not a theoretical claim about omniscience. This is a practical statement about the nature of the relationship I have been building with you across the entire arc of your life. I know you, and in knowing you, I love you in ways that are specific to who you are. Let that specific love change the quality of your hope for what is possible in your life. People who have received the love they were designed for hope differently than people who are still waiting for it. They hope larger because they have the foundation of genuine love under them, and that foundation makes larger things seem possible. They hope with more resilience because when hope is fed by genuine love, the discouragement that comes from disappointment is absorbed by the love rather than amplifying into despair. They hope more specifically because the love they are receiving is specific and it teaches them to hope specifically rather than vaguely. Receive this love today and let it change the quality and the size of the hope you are living with. Consider also the things you carry for the world beyond your immediate life, the awareness of suffering in places you are not, the weight of what you see and hear from broader human experience that adds its own dimension of heaviness to what you are already carrying personally, the grief that extends beyond your own situation to the situations of others, people you have never met, whose stories reach you and produce in you a genuine resonance of care and sadness, that expansiveness of heart, the ability to be moved by what happens beyond your own borders, is a gift. It is the evidence of a love that has been expanded beyond the narrow circle of self-concern. But like many gifts, it can become heavy when it is carried without the right container. You cannot carry the weight of the world. That is not a statement about your inadequacy. It is a statement about design. You were not designed to carry it. I was. The appropriate response to awareness of global suffering is not to take it onto your own shoulders as if the weight of your awareness could somehow address the weight of the situation. The appropriate response is intercession. To bring what you are aware of before me, to ask me to move in the places that need movement, to pray for the situations that require divine intervention, and then to trust that what you have placed in my hands is in the hands of the one who can actually do something with it. That is the container for the expansiveness of your heart. Prayer that releases what it carries into hands that are large enough to hold it. Pray for the world. Pray specifically. Name places and situations and people. Bring before me what weighs on you about what you see, and then let me take it. Do not carry the weight of your awareness as if your holding of it is what addresses it. Let me hold it. Your prayer is the real action. The action that changes things is not the ongoing weight of your concern. It is the specific act of prayer that places the concern in the hands of the one who can move. After the prayer, you are released. You have done the thing that is yours to do. The rest is mine. Gratitude deserves one more visit, more specifically than before. Something about your own life has been made temporarily invisible by the difficulty you are in, and it is important to bring it back into your field of vision. There is more good in your life than you have been able to perceive in the midst of what is hard, not because the hard things are not real, but because the hard things have taken up so much of the available attention that the good things have been crowded to the periphery of your awareness, still present but not seen. Let me help you bring them back into the center of your sight. Think about one relationship in your life that has been a source of real love, however imperfect that love has been. The person who has shown up for you in some form during this season. The person whose presence in your life has been a genuine gift, even if the gift has not come without complication. Hold that relationship in your awareness for a moment, not to minimize the pain that exists elsewhere in your relational world, but to receive the good that is actually there, to let the warmth of genuine human connection, even in its imperfect form, actually register in you rather than being overshadowed by everything that is not yet right. Think about one capacity you have that has made a genuine difference to someone during this season. A way that you have been useful to another person. A way that your presence has mattered. A contribution you have made that actually reached something in someone else's life. Not the contributions you wished you could have made, not the idealized version of what you would have been able to do with more resources and more capacity. The actual thing you actually did that actually mattered to an actual person. Receive the truth of that. Let it tell you something true about who you are and what value you carry, not despite the difficulty you are in, but within it. Think about one thing, about your own character that you have actually respected in yourself during this season. The way you have handled something, the choice you made when the easier choice was available. The moment you showed grace when you could have withheld it. The prayer you prayed when prayer was hard. The faithfulness you maintained when faithfulness cost you something. Own that. Not with pride that competes with others, with the quiet recognition of someone who sees that what they did was genuinely good and allows that recognition to inform their sense of who they are. These three things: a genuine relationship, a genuine contribution, a genuine quality of character, are not small things. They are significant things. And they exist in your life right now, in the middle of the difficulty, not waiting until the difficulty is over to be present. Let the seeing of them be as detailed and as specific as the seeing of what is absent and what is hard. And in that fuller seeing, receive what the fuller picture has to offer, a life that is genuinely worth living, that has genuine love in it, that is genuinely contributing something, that is inhabited by someone of genuine character. That is you, in this season, right now. One more dimension remains that has not been fully addressed: the physical. A great deal has been said about the interior and the relational and the spiritual, but the body is equally real and equally deserving of attention. Your body carries what your mind and spirit carry. The stress of this season has not remained entirely in the realm of thought and emotion. It has expressed itself in your body in specific ways, in the tension that does not release easily, in the disrupted patterns of rest, in the physical symptoms that are the body's way of communicating what the interior has been managing. These things are real and they deserve care. I am concerned with your physical well-being, not as a secondary concern, as something I will get to after the more important spiritual and relational things are addressed. As an integrated part of who you are, the body that is the dwelling place of the life I have given you, and the vessel through which you live it and share it with others. The physical care you extend to yourself in this season matters. Rest when you can. Move when movement is available and helpful. Eat in ways that sustain you rather than only in the ways that temporarily comfort you. Receive care from other people when it is genuinely offered and when receiving it would be good for you. These are not luxuries. They are the stewardship of the vessel that carries the life I have given you. And as you extend this physical care to yourself, know that I am also extending healing through the physical dimension of what needs to be healed. The body carries memory. The body has its own processing to do of what has happened in this season. Give it time and space to do that processing. Do not demand that your body perform at the level of seasons when it was not carrying what it is carrying now. Be patient with its limitations. It is doing the best it can with what it is managing, and as you are patient with it, I am at work in it, addressing at the physical level what the difficult season has introduced there. Everything that has a beginning also has an end. The desert season has a beginning, and it has an end. The difficult chapter has a beginning, and it has an end. The waiting has a beginning, and it has an end. You have not been put in an endless situation with no exit. You are in a situation with a specific purpose and a specific duration, a duration that I have determined based on what is needed for the work of this season to be complete. And when the work is complete, the season ends. And what opens after it is something that the difficult season made possible and better and more significant than it would have been without the difficulty. Hold on. This is the instruction for this moment, not because the situation is hopeless and holding on is all that is left, but because what you are holding on to is real, and the holding on is producing something, and the end of the holding season is closer than it appears from within it. Hold on with the energy that I am supplying, which is different from and better than the energy you are generating on your own. Hold on with the faith that comes from knowing who I am, rather than the faith that comes from the current conditions seeming favorable. Hold on with the love that compels you forward, not because the path is easy, but because the destination is real and the one walking beside you is faithful. I have visited your home today, and I am not leaving. What I brought when I came, the healing, the power, the peace, the protection, the hope, the renewed sense of purpose, the specific and personal love, all of it remains. All of it is available to you in every ordinary moment of every day that follows this one. Come back to it. Draw on it. Let it be the resource you reach for when your own runs out. It will be there, inexhaustible, available, specific, yours. You are loved. You are healed. You are held. You are moving towards something good. My presence goes with you on every step of the way. There is something I want to give you now that is specifically for the moments ahead when everything I have spoken today seems far from where you are. The moments when the circumstances close in again and the feelings of the difficult season reassert themselves, and the peace of this moment seems like something that happened in a different time, in a different place, because those moments are going to come. The awareness of my presence that is available in a concentrated time of intentional connection like this one does not always sustain itself at the same intensity through the ordinary moments of ordinary days. And when the intensity fades and the weight reasserts itself, I do not want you to conclude that what happened here was not real or that what you received was temporary. What I want to give you is an anchor phrase. Something brief enough to say in a moment when extended prayer is not possible, when your mind is pressed by circumstance and the words that are available to you are limited. A phrase that carries the weight of everything that has been spoken here today, and that when spoken with intention, returns you to the ground of what is true. The phrase is this: you came. 3 simple words. You came. When the moment of difficulty arrives and the peace of this encounter feels distant, speak those words. You came. The declaration that I visited, that I came to where you are, that my coming was real, and that the things I brought when I came are still present, even when they are not being felt with the intensity of this moment. You came, and having come, I remain. Speak those words. Let them anchor you to the reality of what happened here today. Let them pull you back to the ground when the feelings are threatening to make the ground feel distant. There is another thing I want to give you for the days ahead: the capacity to recognize my presence in ordinary moments that do not announce themselves as spiritual encounters, the moments that just seem like ordinary life, the unexpected warmth of a conversation with someone you had not planned to talk to deeply, the moment of calm that arrives unexpectedly in the middle of what was pressing and has no obvious source. The small thing that works out in a way that required more than mere coincidence to produce. The sense of being companioned in a moment when you were not consciously trying to access my presence. These are my ordinary ways of being present in a life. Not always the concentrated encounter of a moment like this one. The quiet, consistent, ordinary presence of the one who walks beside you through every day of your life, not only through the dedicated spiritual moments. Learn to notice. Develop the habit of pausing at the end of ordinary moments and asking, was that you? Did I just experience your presence in the middle of what seemed like an ordinary thing? That practice of attentive noticing, of looking for me in the texture of the ordinary, produces a life that feels less spiritually punctuated and more spiritually continuous, where the awareness of my presence is not limited to the special moments, but spreads into the fabric of every moment. That awareness is available to you. It is not reserved for the spiritually advanced. It is available to anyone who develops the habit of looking for it. Before closing this encounter, let me speak once more about courage. Not the courage for dramatic moments, though that is also available to you. The courage for the continuation. The courage to keep going when going is the only option and you are running on what feels like nothing. The courage that chooses faithfulness in the ordinary moments, rather than only in the moments that feel significant. This is the courage I most see modeled in the lives I most honor, not the people who were brave in one great dramatic moment. The people who were consistently faithful through seasons of unglamorous difficulty, who kept showing up to the ordinary requirements of their lives, even when those requirements cost more than they had budgeted for. You have been that person in this season. You have displayed that courage without recognizing it as courage, because it has not felt dramatic. It has felt like just getting through, but just getting through, when getting through is genuinely difficult, when the weight of what you are carrying makes even the ordinary requirements of the day a significant act of will, when you choose to be present and faithful and connected in the middle of that. That is courage, and I honor it. I see it. And I want you to know that I see it. Courage you have been displaying in this season is being noted, not for the purpose of a ledger that needs to be balanced eventually, Not because good behavior earns reward in my economy, but because the character that is producing that courage is real, and it is significant, and it deserves to be spoken of honestly. You are braver than you know. You are more faithful than you feel. You are closer to the end of this season than you can see from inside it. And everything you have invested through the courage of this season is going to be evident in the life that comes after it. Let me speak about what comes after. The season that follows this one has a quality I want to describe for you. It has the quality of relief, not the relief of someone who has been rescued from a situation that was beyond them, though that relief is also available. The relief of someone who has walked through something genuinely difficult and arrived on the other side and looks back and understands, in a way they could not have understood without having walked through it, what they actually survived, what they actually demonstrated, what they actually received, and what they actually became through the process. The relief of that kind of arrival has a texture that is different from any other kind of relief. It carries a deep satisfaction, a sense of completed work, a knowledge that what was asked was given, that what was required was rendered, that what was needed arrived when it was needed. That arrival is what is ahead of you. Not today, not necessarily immediately, but coming, approaching, moving toward you with the same certainty that the dawn moves toward a dark night. The night is real. The darkness is real. And the dawn is also real, and it is coming, and nothing about the depth of the darkness changes the certainty of the coming light. You are the beloved of God. That sentence, said with the full weight of its meaning, is the most important thing I have spoken to you today. Every other thing I have said flows from it or depends on it or is an expression of it. The beloved of God, not one of many in a category. The specific, particular, irreplaceable, fully known and fully loved child of the one who made you and who has not for a single moment of your existence forgotten your name. That is who you are, and that is who you are on the hardest day of the hardest season. That is who you are when the feelings say something different. That is who you are when the circumstances would seem to contradict it. The circumstances do not define you. The feelings do not define you. I define you. And I have defined you as mine, beloved, held, seen, chosen, and on your way to something worth the journey. Walk in this. Live in this. Let it be the ground under your feet as you step into the next moment of your life, and the moment after that, and all the moments in the days and seasons ahead that are going to require the same ground to be under them. You are going to be all right. Everything concerning you is going to be well. The visit that happened today, the power and the healing that came with it, those are going to continue working in ways that are both visible and invisible in the hours and days that follow. Let them work. Cooperate with them. When you feel them, receive them. When you do not feel them, trust them. They are real whether or not they are felt. I am with you in this moment and in every moment that follows. The one who visited is the one who remains. And the one who remains is the one who loves you, who holds you, who is working in everything that concerns you, and who is going to bring you through to the other side of this with everything needed to receive what is waiting there. You are held. You are healed. You are loved. All of it is going to be well. Before I release you into the rest of what this day and the days ahead hold, I want to make sure that there are no parts of what you have been carrying that we have not touched. Because I did not come here today to address some of what you are dealing with and leave the rest. I came to address it all. And there are some things that exist at the edges of what you have been thinking about today that deserve a specific word. Underneath the difficulty lives a loneliness. Not the loneliness of being physically alone, though some of that may be present, a deeper loneliness of navigating something that feels too complex to fully share with anyone around you. The loneliness of carrying something in private because putting it into words for someone else would require more than you have, or because the people available to you do not have the capacity to hold what you would need to put down if you were going to really share it, or because the vulnerability of genuine sharing carries its own risk and you have not been sure whether that risk is one you can afford right now. That loneliness is real. And it has made this season harder than it would have been if the carrying had been genuinely shared. I am the one who can hold everything you have not been able to put down. The things that are too complicated to explain, the things that would require too much history to contextualize for another person, the things that are too raw and too unresolved to put into the kind of words that other people can receive. I can receive all of it, in whatever form it comes, in whatever language you have for it, even if that language is not words. Even if it is just a weight that you bring to my presence and set down without being able to explain what it is. I know what it is. You do not need to explain it to me. You only need to bring it. Bring all of it. The things you have already said out loud and the things you have never been able to fully articulate. The fears that are too specific to seem spiritual enough to pray about. The hopes that are too specific to seem safe to name out loud. The questions that feel too honest to be appropriate, the anger that feels too raw to bring to God, the disappointment with me that you have been carefully not acknowledging because it seemed like a dangerous thing to admit. Bring all of it. I am not going to be damaged by your honesty. I am not going to withdraw in disappointment if you tell me what is actually true about your interior life. I am going to receive it. And receiving it, I am going to engage with it in ways that are helpful rather than harmful. The disappointment with me that has been quietly building in the extended silence of this season is something I want to address directly because it is real and it deserves to be named rather than managed. You are allowed to be disappointed that things have taken as long as they have. You are allowed to feel frustrated that what you asked for has not arrived in the form or on the timeline you expected. You are allowed to bring that frustration directly to me rather than packaging it in spiritual language that makes it more palatable but less honest. Bring me the unpackaged version. Tell me you are frustrated. Tell me the waiting has been longer than you think was necessary. Tell me the silence has been harder than you expected it to be. I can receive that, and once it is said, once it is genuinely brought rather than carefully managed, I can speak into it. I can respond to the honest version in ways that I cannot respond to the packaged version. Here is what I want to say to your honest frustration. I know it has been long. I know the silence has been hard. I know the distance between what I have promised and what has arrived in visible form has been difficult to hold. And I want to tell you that the length and the silence are not evidence of my indifference. They are evidence of the complexity of what I am arranging on your behalf. What is coming into your life as a result of this season of waiting is not a simple thing that could have been delivered quickly. It is something that required the preparation of this entire season. And when it arrives, when you see it fully, you are going to understand why it took what it took. Not because I am going to explain the whole process, but because the result itself is going to carry within it the quality of something that was worth the wait, and you are going to know it. You are going to feel it, and in that moment of knowing, the length of the wait is going to be answered. There are the children of your heart, whatever form they take, whether biological children, children in your community, young people you have poured into, the next generation that you have invested something in, whether or not they know it. Those children are on my mind. The ones who are navigating a world that is genuinely more complex than the one you grew up in, who face pressures and choices and environments that require more wisdom and more grounding than they sometimes have access to. Those children are not navigating it without my involvement. I am present in their lives in ways that are calibrated to what they specifically need. I am pursuing each of them with the kind of love that knows exactly what it is pursuing and does not let complexity stop the pursuit. For the children and young people you specifically carry, the ones whose well-being is genuinely connected to yours in your heart, I want you to know, I know them. I know what they are facing. I know what they need. I know the specific lies they are most vulnerable to and the specific truths they most need to encounter. And I am arranging their encounters with those truths. Sometimes through you, sometimes through others, sometimes through circumstances they would not have chosen, but that are exactly what was needed. Trust me with the children of your heart, the way you have been learning to trust me with your own life. Place them in my hands and leave them there, not because you are ceasing to care for them, but because you have found a care that is larger than yours to supplement and support the care you extend. Let me finish with something about the specific path that is directly ahead of you in the next few weeks and months. Not the long-range future, the near future. The days you are actually going to live through before the larger things I have promised become visible. Those days are going to have in them some moments that test what you have received today. Some moments where the circumstances close in and the peace of this encounter seems distant. Some moments where the old fears reassert themselves and the old thought patterns try to reestablish their dominance. I want to prepare you for those moments. In those moments, return to what is true, not to what you feel, to what you know. You know that you are not alone. You know that I visited today. You know that what I brought when I visited is still present even when it is not being felt. You know that the promises I have made are active. You know that the preparation is happening even when the surface looks still. Return to those things. Speak them, not because the speaking makes them more true. They are already fully true. But because the speaking orients your attention toward them rather than toward the feelings that are trying to dominate. And what your attention is oriented toward has enormous influence over the quality of your experience in any given moment. You have more than you think you have right now, not in the circumstances, which are genuinely difficult, but in what you have received, in what is available to you, in what I have spoken over you today, in what continues to work in you and for you in ways you cannot fully track from the inside. You have more than enough for the next step. And when you reach the step after that, you will have more than enough for it too. This is how it works. Not all the provision delivered at once, because you cannot carry all of it at once, and it would not serve you if you could. Exactly what is needed for exactly what is next. And what is needed for what is next is already being prepared. Step forward, one step, the specific, practical, immediately available step. Take it with the ground that I have given you under your feet, with the companion that is beside you on the road, with the love that is specific to you being extended in this moment. You are ready for this step. You have been prepared by everything that preceded it. And the one who prepared you is the one who is walking into it with you. Everything is going to be well. Every single thing, not some things. Everything. Because I am the God of everything that concerns you, and I am faithful, and I have visited your home today with power, and with healing, and with the specific word that was needed for this specific life, in this specific season. The visit is real. The power is real. The healing is real. The love is real. All of it is yours. All of it is working. All of it is going to continue long after this moment has become a memory. You are loved. Completely, specifically, without condition. by the one who made you and who knows you and who has chosen you and who is not going to stop choosing you. That love is the final word over your life, not the difficulty of this season, not the accumulated weight of the waiting, not the distance between where you are and where you hoped you would be. The love, that is the final word, and the final word is always the one that lasts. There is one dimension of what I want to leave with you that I have been building toward throughout everything I have said today, and I want to bring it into full clarity now. It is the dimension of your identity as someone who carries within them a word from God, not just someone who has received a word today. Someone who is, by nature of who they are and what has been spoken over their life and what has been built into them through every season they have walked through, a carrier of something that the world around them needs to encounter. Every day you move through a world that contains people in their own versions of the desert you are in, people who are carrying weights that are too heavy for them, people who are waiting in silences that feel like abandonment, people who have not yet found the ground that does not shake, and the person who moves through that world carrying the genuine, lived, tested knowledge of my faithfulness, the person who can speak from a place of actual experience rather than merely theoretical conviction, that person is a gift to everyone they encounter, not a gift that has to announce itself. The kind that simply exists in the atmosphere of a life, that other people feel when they are in proximity to it, that produces something in the rooms it enters without the person carrying it necessarily knowing what it is producing. You are becoming that person. The difficult season that has felt like depletion is actually building the depth that makes genuine overflow possible. The desert that has felt like nothing is being produced is actually the season in which the roots are going down, deep enough to sustain a tree that can provide genuine shade for others. The waiting that has felt like stagnation is building the settled confidence in my faithfulness that will eventually make you the person someone else grabs onto when their own faith is failing. This is what I have been building. This is the word I have been after through everything this season has required of you. You are not being diminished by this season. You are being expanded, not in the ways that are immediately visible, in the ways that are eventually most significant. The person with genuine depth, genuine tested faith, genuine compassion born of genuine suffering, that person is rare. That person changes rooms. That person helps other people find the ground. And you are becoming that person through this season, whether or not you can feel the becoming from the inside. Walk in the knowledge of what you are carrying, not with pride that elevates you above others, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that what they carry is real and is needed and is worth extending to the people around them. The love that has been extended to you today is not for you to contain. It is for you to let overflow. The peace that has been established in you is not for you to hoard. It is for you to carry into every room you enter. The healing that has begun in you is not only for your benefit, it is so that you can be genuinely present for others in their own need for healing, present in the way that only the healed can be for the healing. This is the word over your life. You are a carrier of what has been given to you, a carrier of the faithfulness you have experienced, a carrier of the love that has found you even in the desert. And as you carry it, moving through the ordinary moments of your ordinary life, it will reach people you did not know needed what you were carrying. It will change things you did not know needed to be changed. It will plant seeds in places you passed through without even knowing you have passed through them. This is the life that is available to the person who has received what you have received today, and who continues to receive it in every season that follows. Go in peace. Go in the knowledge of who you are and who is with you. Go with everything that has been given to you today, active in you and for you. The visit is complete. The word has been spoken. The healing is underway. The power has been released. And the love that brought all of this to you today is the same love that will remain with you through every step you take from this moment forward. You are going to be all right. Your family is going to be all right. The situation that has been most difficult is going to shift, and when it does, you will know without any doubt that I was with you through every moment of the season that preceded the shift, that I was working in the silence and the stillness and the apparent delay, that everything I promised was real and was moving toward fulfillment even when the evidence of movement was invisible. Trust me. Keep trusting me. One moment at a time, one step at a time, one choice at a time, and watch what I do in the life of someone who trusts me through the hard seasons as well as the easy ones. Watch what happens in the life of someone who chooses to believe my word over the evidence of the difficult circumstances. Watch what comes to pass in the life of someone who keeps praying, keeps hoping, keeps extending love even from a place of depletion, keeps showing up to the ordinary, faithful requirements of their ordinary, faithful life. Watch and be amazed at my faithfulness. I am the God who visits. I came to your home today, and I am not leaving. There is a final word that I want to speak over the specific people who are listening to this right now, the ones who are in the most acute pain of the season. The ones for whom the difficulty is not a background experience, but a daily and sometimes hourly pressing that makes the ordinary moments of ordinary life feel weighted and slow. The ones who have been holding on because there is nothing else to do, not because they are certain of the outcome, not because the faith is strong and clear and unshaken, but simply because the only other option is letting go, and they have not yet been able to do that. For those specific people, the ones hanging on by the thinnest possible thread of continued choice to trust, I want to say something directly. How thin the thread is does not matter. It does not need to be thick to hold. What matters is not the quality of your grip on me. What matters is that you are still holding, and you are still holding. That is enough. It is more than enough. A thin thread of continued trust in the middle of genuine darkness is one of the most significant acts of faith I witness in human lives. Not the confident, articulate, theologically sophisticated faith of someone who is in a comfortable season. The barely there, not giving up one more day faith of someone who is in a desert and is still somehow still reaching toward me. That kind of faith moves me. That kind of faith honors me more than the easy faith of easy seasons. You have not failed. Not at faith, not at trust, not at the life you are supposed to be living. You are in a hard season, and you are still here, and you are still reaching. That is the whole of what has been asked, and you have done it. You have done the thing that was required of this season, imperfectly and sometimes barely, but genuinely. You have held on, and I have held you while you held on, and the holding is not over, and the held is not done holding, and the thread, thin as it may feel, has not broken. Because what you are hanging from does not break, and you are not going to fall. Walk forward into what is next, with the knowledge that you are held, that the visit happened, that what was spoken is real, that what was released into your life today is working, that the healing is underway, that the power that came with the visit is active, that the love that came is present, that the one who came is still here. One step, the next one, just this one, everything is going to be well. That is my word over you. That is my promise to you. That is the declaration of the one who knows every detail of your life and who loves every part of you and who is working in everything that concerns you toward an outcome that is good, that is coming, and that is worth every single step of the journey that is bringing you to it. I love you, I am with you, and everything is going to be well. Amen. If this message reached you today in the place where you needed it most, share it with someone who is also in a desert right now. Let them know that they are not alone, and that the one who visits with power and healing is the same one who has come into their home and their life with everything they need. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a word that God wants to speak over your life. And leave an amen in the comments if this message touched something in you today. Your amen is a declaration. Let it stand as your agreement with everything that has been spoken over you. You are loved. You are held. You are going to be all right.